Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Pro MFG Technology Leadership Think Tank powered by Nanoprecise Sci Corp. I'm Ramya from Pro MFG Media. We are a manufacturing focused media company, and our engagements and platform focus on connecting, collaborating, and transforming the manufacturing sector. Today's roundtable will focus on smart manufacturing and operational excellence for the chemical sector. I would like to introduce Mr. Sunil Vedula, the founder and CEO of Nanoprecise Sci Corp. Mr. Sunil is a professional engineer from Canada with 12 years of experience in the oil and gas sector. He's an expert in machine design, material science, infinite element modeling, and data analytics. He obtained his bachelor's in chemical engineering from DCE and MBA from the University of Alberta, Canada. He's an avid reader and extremely passionate about technology commercialization in the field of IIoT, artificial intelligence, and Industry 4.0 so as to improve efficiency and reduce carbon emission as much as possible. He won awards at MIT, also recently won Startup Awards at prestigious Society of Petroleum Engineers. Requesting Mr. Sunil to share his thoughts and set the tone for the round table. Over to you, Mr. Sunil.
Thank you so much, Ramya, for this nice introduction. And as you correctly said, as per McKinsey, we all know how big a problem unplanned downtime is. It's a $100 billion problem and increasing as per McKinsey. And all of us, want our production to go 100% without any stoppages or disruptions. So in this regards, we came up with our, we tried to see how we can solve as a one end-to-end solution this problem, right? And that's the intent with which Nanoprecise was born. And we thought that it's not about just a hardware or a software, but rather a complete solution of which a hardware and a software is a part of. And and that's why we brought our IoT powered sensor, which is a 6-in-1, and that measures vibration, acoustic, RPM, temperature, humidity, and magnetic flux, while our software, which is AI powered with some special signal processing and algorithms like SEMDAN and wavelet neural network, to make sense of this data and basically do 3 simple steps, which are first, we have a very simple philosophy of how a human doctor diagnoses a human patient. First step, anomaly detection. Second step is fault characterization, like to diagnose what is the problem. And then the third is predict the remaining time to failure based on that fault mode. So this is exactly what we are doing. And we would love to learn from the leaders that are present here, how they are doing, because I'm sure that everybody wants to be a doctor for their machines and diagnose before the machines, empower the machines to tell themselves when they are going to face a problem. And we would love to hear from there and see how we can learn and improve our solution, or maybe help them to complement their operations with our solution.
Thank you, Mr. Sunil, for setting the tone for the roundtable discussion today. It's my pleasure to introduce our all-star panel on board who have joined us today. Firstly, introducing Mr. Atul Goel, the Chief Transformation Officer and Head of Technology for India Glycols Group, a graduate engineer with post-graduation in marketing and HR streams. Atul has a total of 24 years of work experience in different industry verticals and has held several leadership positions within the organization. Besides being the technology lead, He is a member of the Risk Management Committee for India Glycols. He has driven multiple enterprise-wide business transformation projects with world-leading management consulting firms. He continues to drive transformation projects within the organization in close coordination with domain heads. These projects' outcomes are tracked on a monthly basis through steering committee meetings chaired by the company's chairman, CEO. So a warm welcome, Mr. Atul.
Thank you. Thanks so much. I'm honored to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Would like to now introduce our next panel, Mr. Sharad Joshi, the Head Digitization Smart Manufacturing, AS and HVE India from BASF. Mr. Sharad has more than 27 years of experience in manufacturing and is currently leading the implementation team of Industry 4.0 initiatives in BASF in Asia Pacific. His expertise include project management, smart manufacturing initiatives, and electrical and instrumentation. A very warm welcome to you, Mr. Sharad. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Ramya, and looking forward to the discussion.
Now I would like to introduce Mr. Pankaj Srivastava, the Head IT of Gujarat Fluorochemicals. Mr. Pankaj is currently the Head IT at Gujarat Fluorochemicals Limited, a part of a 3 billion Inox group of companies. His core focus areas are around two key pillars, one being digital transformation of existing business processes around operations, marketing, sales, and production with an objective to increase operational efficiency and tighter integration between functions and processes and increase cybersecurity protection. This investment needs to precede the digital strategy. Welcome on board, Mr. Pankaj.
Thank you, Ramya. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Anil Singh is our next panelist, the Director for Operational and Supply Chain from Sika India. He is responsible for operations and supply chain capabilities, which include planning, buying, manufacturing, deliver, and customer service across India markets. Mr. Singh has over 21 years of experience in managing large operations and businesses within India and abroad and is a Black Belt Six Sigma certified professional. Mr. Singh has been awarded India's Next Generation Leader in 2019. Prior to joining Sika, he was heading operations for India, Vietnam, and Asia for AscoNobel. So a very warm welcome to Mr. Singh. The moderator for the session is Mr. Manish Kulkarni, the Director of Pro MFG Media. Handing it over to you, Manish.
Thank you so much, Ramya. Thank you, and welcome to all the panelists for this roundtable on Pro MFG Think Tough, Smart Manufacturing and Operational Excellence, powered by Nanoprecise. It is a great pleasure to have all the people, all the roundtable speakers join in, who have collectively over 120 man-years of experience in operations and IT side of the process industry. And it is also a pleasure to have Sunil, who is joined us from Canada at very, very early morning, odd hours. So Sunil, thank you so much for taking out time. It will be a pleasure to pick your brain and also have invigorating discussions about the smart manufacturing landscape. And just as most of us, most of the speakers are from the process industry and specifically the chemical industry, specialty as well as the other chemical industry. The interesting thing is that the adoption of automation or control technologies happened early in process industries. What is the fast landscape of changing technologies in terms of what we call as a smart manufacturing? It covers a wide spectrum of elements which are associated with it, such as digital twin, and we have predictive maintenance, digital IIoT, artificial intelligence, robotics, cobotics, cloud, machine learning, and so on. My first question, and this question is to all of you, is we have these different elements to digital transformation. In terms of digital transformation, it is basically with some objectives. So what are the priorities which you focus on these for the adoption of these technologies for digital transformation? I'll start with Mr. Govil first, and then we'll move on. And you can take about 3 to 4 minutes of time to explain your point.
Correct. Thanks, Manish. I think these 120 years of collective experience puts a lot of pressure on each one of us. And it's overwhelming, so to say. But I think your question is quite valid, that where do we start and what are those levers when you talk about digital transformation? It's great to hear about this term, that buzzword, so to say. But what does it entail to manufacturing, and particularly to manufacturers like us, predominantly into chemicals and allied sectors? So I would say, when we talk about digitalization, and I'm not talking about digitization, when we talk about digitalization, which is a component of a digital transformation journey. So one is, of course, you look at levers around improving profitability. And how do you improve profitability? This could be around how do you make sure that you drive far efficient operations in terms of improving batch cycle times, improving turnaround times, okay, and maybe reducing wastage. And of course, in particularly in chemicals, petrochemicals, and such industries, human safety, okay, workplace safety is another area which also is now extremely important and is being taken care through these digital tools, so to say. So as I said, profitability improvement, because ultimately you have to get the leadership interested in funding a project, and that can only happen if you show some moolah on the table. It can't be that it's just that you have some grand thoughts and a grand vision that let's do this, let's do that. Because if you were to invest in some technology, you need to have some kind of an ROI. And that ROI need not be tangible at all times, but at least it should qualify into either a tangible or an intangible pitch, which the office of the CFO would be keen to then finance, and then only the whole journey starts. So that is one. Profitability is one. And of course, in today's theme, another interesting and important aspect which has come up is how do we enable remote working? Okay, especially, and this has got accelerated with COVID, that because unlike these IT big wigs, wherein individuals can afford to work from home and still they can rake in those dollars. But in manufacturing, things have to happen. The conversion has to happen on the shop floor, okay, on the production plant. And you need to have people. But then at the same time, you can't have all the people all the time. You can't have all the experts all the time because of other, various reasons, because of lockdowns, social distancing, and health, other issues. So there is an increased focus that how do we deploy and use technologies so that reliance on human or the personnel is kind of minimized. You can't eliminate it, and that's not the purpose also. But as much as possible, what all can get automated, digitized, and also what all processes can get digitalized, maybe use of RPA and other tools. So those are the areas we have started looking at with a far focused lens than ever before.
Yeah, very interesting points you made on business outcomes, profitability leading to ROIs, as well as the use of digitalization for reducing dependence on humans by automating and using RPA kind of technologies. So you covered these major points. May I request Mr. Pankaj Srivastava to give his views? And Pankaj, you have 3 plants located across Gujarat, Dahej, and Halol. So would you like to share the priority to focus on from these gamut of different elements available on the digital transformation side?
Yes. So first of all, we are working on a chemical plants, very much hazardous. So we are into production of this of fibers and adhesives and many of the chemicals. So the process is very much hazardous. The entire plant and raw material is very much hazardous. So safety is the very prime and the key concern for the entire industry. Safety for workers, safety for all the staffs and everyone. So last year we did. Last 2 years we are in sync with this DuPont technologies for the safety implementation and all. We did a number of training programs and a system process, everything we set as per the very recent model of the DuPont. So that is a very first, and the digital transformation adds so many things in the safety side. So all my AHS portals and all my AHS working is totally on safety and everything on portal and totally digitized. So we are getting all the alerts, and we have given the open access to all the employees to just to report anything, whatsoever is happening in the industry. If somebody is having some hurt, something happened with any of the organization, any plant or anywhere, so he or she can immediately report. That is a very big advantage we get with the digital transformation of the safety. Yes, being this safety side, yes, the digital transformation, the employee performance has also increased. We are doing the some projects on Industry 4.0. There are a number of challenges with it also, but yes, we are getting a very good employee performance through adopting some new technologies and through digital transformation. So definitely we are into phase of it. So maybe next 3 to 4 months we'll complete the first phase of the project. We'll get the good, and we are expecting good efficiencies on machine side and the improvement in the employee efficiency. And yes, at the last, the profitability and other things, our cost and finance people will make it out, but definitely it is there. So this is a very prime concern for the all the chemical industries, and yes, we are into implementation of it. So I will discuss the challenges also, but I think at this moment, yes.
Sure, we would also in the next round we would love to know the challenges so that we all can learn from if there are solutions available and how others have overcome if they have faced similar challenges. So we can learn from each other. Thank you so much, Pankaj-ji. Sharadji, your role is digitalization, smart manufacturing for BASF across Asia Pacific region, which covers so many different countries and 37 plants under you. And again, BASF being a leader in the specialty chemical space, would you like to please share your views on prioritization for digital transformation?
Thanks, Manish. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah. So when I look into the perspective of a specialty chemical industry, I would say digitalization have a widespread impact across the value chain. When I say value chain, it comes from the supply of the material, raw material, and up to manufacturing, and then finally finished product out. So at BASF, we see it specifically 3 big areas where we work on, and one is our customer experience. When I say it's more of a digital business model, so you can expect today our customer is expecting services, the information, the inputs on the product they buy from us handy, and it's not the conventional way of managing the purchase order and all. So it's something which is a state-of-art experience, and that is one area of it. Second important topic when it comes to manufacturing and supply chain, there are several of the topics and which I will talk subsequently, but the third important topic which we also work is on the research and development. So it's more of a digitalization in research and development, the digital innovation. Coming back to manufacturing, the focus area today, if I have to name a few, what we need to start with is one of the important areas is the efficiency. So one of area where we look for an efficiency improvement in terms of the workforce efficiency, the work process efficiency. Second important area is about the reliability and availability of the plant. So several of the digital solution in terms of machine learning, the predictive maintenance, plant availability, how can you work on and how can you improve that? That is another important aspect or milestone into that. Third, and important, rather I would say one of the most important for us is the EHS and environment, health, safety, where definitely key focus area, how can we ensure, how can we raise a performance of our EHS day by day? How can we work safely? We can send our workforce safely at home at the end of the day. And that is something very important, and various projects are being driven into that category. I'm coming to the last point, and I will say one of the important point, and we all need to work on, and we call it as a data to value. So when it comes to the digitalization, one of the important aspects, we all are generating huge amount of data in the plant, be it a process data, be it workflow related information, be it maintenance data, the engineering data. What is important today, we really have to look back how we effectively utilize this data for our decision making. And that is something which is very important for us. So I will put all these, the manufacturing applications, or rather into this 4 category. Most of our projects are falling under these 4 categories, and we take it forward based on the priority of the plant. So it's not necessary that the any one of that is a priority across organization, no. And as you said, Manish, like as we spread across across the globe, and in my perspective, when I look into, it's almost 9 countries across region. Each country have a different priority. Some of them have a specific need of EHS. Some of the other countries have a need of reliability, workforce efficiency, maybe some of the topic. So it varies from plant to plant, and I don't put it as a kind of prototype where we want to run all the solution in a sequential manner. It has to be kind of very custom solution based on the need of the plant. So it has to be driven by the need of the plant. At the end of the day, we have to see that what value it adds to organization, and we don't end up doing digitalization for sake of doing it, but we do it at the end of day for adding certain value to organization. So these are the key areas what we observe, and that is the way we trigger or drive the digitalization within organization.
Yeah. Sharatji, thank you so much. You made a very interesting point on customer experience and across the value chain. So it is business experience, because you have other stakeholders on the other side, like vendors and partners. You actually made a very interesting point about how across the value chain it can benefit, and specifically to manufacturing. You mentioned about productivity of workforce as well as asset availability and asset reliability for the operations of your kind. I mean, chemical industry. It's so important. And what is the value of the data set? That's another important point which we will take it up for the next round of questions, is the value of data and how data into insights can help really, and how it is helping, and what are the challenges companies face. Customized solutions for each thing is very important, rather than painting with the same brush, because each plant will have its own legacy. So it's a good point as well, Sharatji. Anilji, before I ask the same question to you, I asked, I came across a very interesting definition of what is digital transformation. And DT, digital transformation, someone said is equal to CT, control technology, plus OT, operational technology, plus IT. So it's integration of all things that are happening on the shop floor and integrating it to your IT ERP systems to drive value across this of the data which is getting generated. Now coming to Anilji, you have worked both in India and abroad in the similar sector for so many years. From your viewpoint and from your experience, what are some of the prioritization metrics you look at for digital transformation initiatives?
Yeah, thank you, Manishji. Once again, good afternoon, and I am really delighted.
Please hold the mic closer to you, slightly.
Yeah. Is it better now? Yeah.
Yeah, it's better.
Yeah, so thanks, Manishji, for putting forward a very interesting topic, and thanks to other panel speakers on the respective topics. And yes, Manishji, this is really very important that if we are talking about the KPI or the areas which needs to be focused in this journey of digital transformation, I feel that going forward, the importance would be of the operations excellence. And why this is important, if we see, as mentioned by Sharadji, that each plant have different complexity. But I feel within the same plant also, just to add, the complexity is increasing day by day with the various processes, requirement, or even the input data, which has to be converted into a relevant output. I will just give an example because since we are talking of digitalization, a lot of data are getting generated day by day. But important point would be that how we take this data means converting this data into a statistical platform, and also to realize with the shop floor employees or the people who are working on the ground with the practical problems correlation, because most of the time this statistical problem has to be converted into the practical problem, and then we need to get the practical solution, and finally the loop has to be closed with the statistical solution. Then only I think this data relevance or the digitalization would be there. I know that in last 5 to 6 years, which I have seen in my previous roles as well, Unilever, AkzoNobel, and now in Sika also, the machines are there, technologies are being developed. However, we are facing challenges how to make most of it. And here, if we are talking about two things, one is that the efficiency, which primarily comes produce more with the less, or if we are talking about the productivity, produce more with the same. I think these are two different terminologies, but having a very different aspect in each and every part of the process or the supply chain, which we are talking about in the chemical industry. So I think the KPI would be related to operational excellence, and I would prefer that sustainability as one of the biggest priority for the future. The way our whole, you can say, urbanization is one part, but the way our population is growing year on year. If I just look back till 1800, our Earth population was 1 billion. In 1920, it became just double, means 120 years, it got converted from 1 billion to 2 billion. And from 1920 onwards till now, we are close to 7.5 billion. So I think the KPIs related to sustainability, like natural resources, which are important. We are talking about a lot of renewable energy sustainability agenda. But even till now, our most of the operations or the manufacturing industry is dependent on the uh, fuels which are traditional in approach. So those are the areas, as well as I think the people efficiency. That's another important area, because it's not to reduce the manpower, it's only to optimize the manpower and relocate or appropriately appointment of those people so that we can get best out of it. So these are the two areas I would like to mention that has to be considered when we are talking about digitalization in the manufacturing industry as a priority.
Yeah, Anilji, well said in terms of productivity. And also you mentioned about more from less and more from the same. I mean, more with the same resources, which again relates to the efficiency and productivity of the whole system. Data, converting data into relevant actionable insights for the solutions at the shop floor is an important point. And common thread in all the four speakers also was sustainability, EHS, which is safety and sustainability. I will come to Sunil now. Sunil, you interact with global companies sitting in Canada. You have customers across the globe. Would you like to share with us your experiences in terms of how organizations are looking at this prioritization for digital transformation?
Sure. Thanks, Manish. And I heard responses from all the panelists, and it was very interesting and really good to see that everybody is doing something along this line. And yes, of course, see, even when you buy a car, what's the most important thing for us? For any machine, we are living in a world where there is a man and a machine. No, now we want the max out of our machines. For that, the first priority that what we work with global customers is, I will worry about the productivity, but first I want to make sure my machines are healthy. That's the first, because if they stop all of a sudden, first of all, they have these, they don't know if the spare parts are available. I mean, if they are in a desperate situation, the subcontractor charges more. If it is a custom part, you're looking at a longer lead time that you don't even have production. So they first prioritize the health, because I want to make sure that the operations are going on. At least my car should run, whether it is efficient or not, whether it is not consuming more gasoline or not. I will worry a little bit later. Okay, so that's what we are noticing. But coming after, now the health is fine, but the next step is how to make sure to tie this up to productivity in some way, so that we can justify to our management, like I'm speaking on behalf of these big manufacturing companies, to justify to our management the next a big leap in productivity or return on investment, right? And that comes when you tie the improvements you do in predictive maintenance and predictability of the health of the machines, to basically how, whether how much current consumption is happening, because you don't want a huge current consumption for a small output, right? In the same way, how much steam it is consuming, if it is in case of turbine, how much GHG emissions it is creating. So all that comes just a bit after health. So what we have seen is that people who are in companies who are in a very early phase of digital transformation, they're coming to us and straight away and say that we want to make sure our predictive maintenance is first completely solved. And those who have already have some sensors installed, they're saying, how do you make the most, as some of the panelists said, how do you make the most out of the data that we already have? We don't want to buy sensors again, right? And rightfully so, right? Provided the data quality has been vetted properly, because otherwise it's a garbage in and garbage out. And the third is type of customers who are basically saying that okay, we have everything, now we want to do productivity gains and all that. So how do you, so this is how everyone's priorities are different, because everyone is at a different stage of digital transformation. But this is what we have seen.
Right. Yeah, asset health, you mentioned, Sunil, is of prime importance, and the predictive maintenance for the equipment which is running. And when we speak about chemical process manufacturing plant, it has a lot of critical equipment running, which is both rotating equipment as well as static, and mainly like gearboxes, pumps, critical application, electric motors driving these applications, and turbines. And there are so many different angles to this. And when we talk about data and its relevance, we also need to understand the parameters to be measured, because when you talk about data, chemical industry, typically process industry, has a lot of SCADA, PLCs, which are running the DCS system, distributed control system. Huge amount of data sensorization has happened and is happening at a very fast pace. The question is coming to Mr. Atul Govil, is how do you determine what kind of data is relevant? Because there is vibration, temperature, and then there are speed, and there are so many different parameters which are available for measurement. So how do you determine what kind of data is good to monitor and measure and monitor and manage?
I think it's a great question, because if you talk about manufacturing, particularly, we have these control systems, the DCS, PLCs, and SCADA systems. They've been in existence for more than 25, 30 years at least. you would have other versions of these systems in yesteryears, but at least these systems have been in usage for almost 25, 30 years now, which means that there is enough and more humongous data streams which will flow, which are currently flowing in the control systems. What is different in the current theme is that these systems are till so far in isolated control rooms. Okay, you may have a boiler control room, you may have a turbine control room, you may have a process plant control room, or maybe some discrete unit, packaging unit. You would have PLCs. So these are all siloed systems till so far. Now, in the current scheme of things, what is expected is, because a plant, a unit, is actually, you would have upstream, downstream units, you would have utilities feeding into the main process plant, one process plant output feeding into the subsequent one. So and if you were to look at the team of experts who are monitoring the whole set of operations end to end, the whole value stream, so to say, and to be able to eliminate the whole value stream and to identify the dark spots, you need to have a connected factory setup. And therein, these additional sensors, which our dear friend from Canada is mentioning, because till so far, when you talk about equipments like turbines, you talk about these compressors or heat exchangers or other rotary equipments, agitators, or maybe DG sets. No, all of them would have some or the other sensors, but those would be performing a particular purpose. Okay, but when you talk about and then of course not everything in the world can get sensorized, so you need to optimize on what all sensors need to be procured, what all need to be added, and then we basically take a call. And for that, what we need to do is, one, we look at what are those levers. It could be around the equipment reliability. Suppose we talk about reliability as one KPI or as a target. So when you talk about reliability, so you would actually basically talk about sensors like vibration sensors, because in some companies you would have vibration sensors, somebody carrying these handheld kits monitoring the vibration on a one-off basis, on a weekly basis, or based on the checklist. But then that doesn't suffice, because vibration as a parameter and such other parameters also, they may get impacted in a fraction of a second. So now companies are realizing that if they were to actually optimally make sure that their assets are available 24/7, they need to have online systems in place, so that they would be able to track and get alerts to either stop the machine or take corrective actions at that point of time. So as I said, it's basically based on the KPIs, based on the historical problems the machine has faced and which has led to catastrophe or major breakdowns. You define those critical parameters that these would be of interest. And then of course, one is from a reliability standpoint, another is from an operational excellence, that one, after you may ensure that the system reliability related parameters are in place, then you talk about you also talk about the safety from a safety standpoint, whether safe operations are not jeopardized. So you look at from that aspect. Then of course, then you start looking at optimizing on the energy spend. You that know how much specific energy consumption what is the spend on energy consumption. So all those parameters but then you will have to it's like a funnel. So you need to think through that what is those aspects which are hurting you the most now, and then you, based on that, you keep prioritizing your interventions, initiatives, and plan accordingly.
Atulji, thanks for these inputs, which we will take it to Mr. Anil Singh from the operational viewpoint, because these are some of the points what Atulji also mentioned are important to understand the online real-time parameters which are critical based on the KPIs or based on the historical patterns. And also there will be dark spots, what he mentioned about that, what needs to be sensorized is also important. Anilji, could you please
Oh, I'm sorry, Manish. I'm
Yes.
sorry. Actually, I've got a call from my CEO, so I'll have to maybe opt out for a moment. And if I'm able to join back, I'll immediately join back. Yeah, I
Sure,
just
sure.
have to rush out. Thank you so
Sure,
much,
yeah.
and I'll
Yeah,
try to be back.
If
Yeah,
possible, you can join back. Yeah.
yeah,
Thanks.
sure, sure. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Yeah. Yes, Anil.
Yeah, so I always believe this is the inputs which we received, and this concept machine doctor, I really love this. And reason is behind that. Yes, when we talk about our machines which are being handled by our manpower, I think this is the most important link in this operations journey or the supply chain, which can help the entire manufacturing fraternity also. And why I'm telling this, because I always feel that the data, which is the, if we can convert D for data, D for DIL, and how we can correlate this with the people who are working in the different areas. I always felt that if we are talking about data analytics and even digitalization, everything, unless this correlation is there, which can be converted into the valuable input, which I mentioned earlier also. But important point is that if we put the whole business right from the sales and marketing till the last leg, which is the distribution and customers, in this whole journey or the value chain, each and every function of the organization is going to be impacted because of this. If we don't have the integration of data with the people, because ultimately the people at the ground are supposed. So that is one area which I feel could be quite relevant. And also, since we are talking about various insights on this area, so another input would be that, again, if we talk about, for example, I will take inventory as one of the important point, which may not be directly related with the machines, but if our upstream and downstream both are getting impacted because of machines getting stopped, data is not being utilized properly, obviously those areas which are the big cost element for the whole operations are also going to be impacted. So I thought that this another associated field, which could be inventory and other stuff related to operations, should also be added with this area, so that we have a broader gamut to understand the importance of this entire discussion.
Yeah. So you mentioned about integration of people, and because digital transformation to succeed, it needs a change in mindset of people as well. So that point you did mention. Pankaj, during your previous answer, you also said the challenges, and also this question on the choosing the right parameters, setting the right KPIs. Would you like to add your views and experiences, Pankaj? I think you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry. So as Anilji rightly said, asset health is very much important for the chemical industry. Like we have a number of compressors, reactors, turbines, heat exchangers, DCS, a number of things are there, motors are there. If anything fails, entire supply chain get affected. So the health of the entire industry manufacturing is very much important for everyone. So though we are having more than 30 plus SCADAs, they are collecting data on a single platform, and the data quantum is very much huge while collecting all the data and turning into the BI sort of platform, which have some sort of analytics and all. Then same way, some sort of BI prediction plus some data analytics in SAP also. We are getting some sort of predictions related to maintenance and all such things, maintenance orders, preventive, and this vibration analysis and all sort of this analysis we are getting. And according to that, we are taking downtime of the plants and So yes, this system helps a lot for the continuity of our production operation, because once production stops, anything stops, entire supply chain get affected. My customers are the prime members for this entire journey. So if we can't fulfill our commitment on time, yes, it's a big failure for us. So the pain point here is the huge quantum of data of getting from many of the SCADAs, as Hriday rightly said, the quality of data. Yes, the quality of data is there because every data is coming directly from SCADA, but there are some sensor which are which data is required for analysis. There are huge data which is available, but that is unutilized basically. Because these SCADA operators and the DCS operators, they are having the access of those data, and they are doing something for the maintenance of for running the plant, not the maintenance of the plant. So they are doing their actions, but the very few quantum of data is required for the predictive analysis for the business and the profitability of the business and seamless running of the plant for entire production. Recently, we did some exercise with some data analytics on the golden wedge sort of model, and optimize the entire things for energy efficiency level and the reliability level. Yes, those parameters are there, but the very big challenge is to have a proper mindset of the people in the organization. Why I'm saying mindset? Because the people who are connected with these sort of projects are having very little knowledge of these things. Very top people, the HODs and all, they hardly invest much of time on this sort of project. This is the biggest challenge that we are facing, and this is common across the industry. So there are not dedicated teams who has defined this sort of job. They have part of their entire profile. They are having one more profile of this sort of. So there must be a dedicated team which should work along with the IT people and those sort of transformation exercise. And the most important part is the entire business process review has to be done before doing this sort of exercises, because the going for industry 4.0, going for this sort of integration and all such things, many people don't aware about the transparency of the data and where data will go, how my data will link with my customer, how my data will link with my vendor, and what is the value of such sort of. So it's a big challenge for HR also, for other people also, get the right person for the right job and right place on this transformation phase. So these are the some challenges from our end.
Yes, you mentioned about quality and the nature of the data, which is useful for getting the business outcomes. Basically, the outcomes meaning the health of the equipment, the predictive type of predictive maintenance strategies to be implemented. Sharad, may I invite your insights onto this point of the finalization of data, which the parameters for optimization of the whole operation. Let us use get your views on that.
Okay. So Manish, majority point covers by fellow speaker, but I would say the approach what we do typically at our end. So it's one of the important aspects where it starts is to identify the equipment that is known for the kind of prone to health degradation or kind of failures happen in the past and or the performance degradation. So first step for identifying the area, or I would say, is the critical asset identification, or also we call it as a bad actor identification. It may be to equipment, it may be to sometimes the process area where the issues or challenges are being observed. Second important topic is once we identify this kind of equipment, what we do is we go through the historical data. Historical data come from operation, maintenance, the SAP, ERP system and all. And based on this historical data, we really need to identify how and where, how often the equipment is failing, what are its impact on the overall process. And another important aspect we need to look into is also about the having redundancy of such equipment. Sometimes you may have a pumps which are failing frequently, but you still have a kind of a redundant pump and the operation is not getting impacted. So there is a time available to recover from the lapses and operation is not getting impacted. So this is something which is important area we need to look into. So these are kind of inputs which will really help us to make the business case tangible. Otherwise, you have a redundant pump and you are able to switch over, but you still say that equipment is impacting. So we need to really see whether it have impact on process or it have a impact on stability of the operations. Come to the point, then we need to really identify what are events occurring. That is kind of mechanical wear or a chemical process like fouling, deposits, coking, corrosion, or failure shortcoming of process control, or in sometime infrastructure, the topic as some of them mentioned, like cooling, heating, electricity, the utility consumption, which I will call it as a more of a process optimization measures. And with that topic cover into what we need to really see that are we able to look into these all parameters? Are these indications available in the existing measurements? That is one of the important aspects. And majority of time, our observation is if we have a well instrumented system, likelihood you have measurements available, but the one measurement itself is not giving you enough indication of the failure in advance. So you have set up certain process conditions where temperature is going high and you set certain alarm at the process temperature goes high and you have to take some corrective actions. But the time available to take the corrective actions is not enough. And then you end up into the equipment failures. So what is more important coming here and where the predictive maintenance play a vital role is a multivariable analysis. So what it does today, our control systems are much equipped with all the measurements. I will say all the measurements coming to control system able to give us an indication in terms of high, low alarm set by us, deviation alarm set by us. But the one parameter of the process is not able to give you a complete picture of the process. And it may happen that giving you simple example, the temperature at which the entire process is being running may vary based on the throughput at which you are operating it, or pump may be based on the pump throughput are changing, the parameters of the pump inlet outlet pressure. So you cannot correlate it with one parameter. So multivariable analysis is something which is important, and you need to identify whether all the measurements are available, and if it is available, then it's a case of implementing the analytical module. And if it is not, then we have to see whether we need certain measurements to be integrated, need to be brought in. And with that measurements coming in, are we able to get the complete assessment? So that's a holistic approach, what we take forward. And then that is a assessment we do carry for predictive maintenance implementation. Yeah,
right. Yes, Sharad. Thanks. Thank you for touching base with several things. Identification of the critical nature of the equipment, whether the redundant equipment spare is available for changeover, and these are important considerations which you do. Sunil, coming back to you, and we heard from the practitioners from both from the IT and OT side. Coming back to your experience of again having dealt with several such industries globally, what do you feel are the global trends in this? You're on mute.
Thanks, Manish, and again, very good comments. And I especially like the comment from Sharadji. And I think as Mr. Pankaj said, and like it's very important to identify the problem statement first, right? Like what is a problem statement, and especially on number of machines, like you want to, like there will be many problem statements in terms of the health monitoring of your machines, right? These particular, so criticality rating of your plant machines in your plant, and basically based on that identifying the problem, by fixing which problem you will fix 80% of the health management becomes very important. That immediately is the first big ROI generation. That research R&D itself is a big ROI generation, because with one thing you can get maximum ROI. And once you have identified the right problems to attack, instead of in 10 problems, even if you take 3 problems first and don't take 7 problems, you're already getting fixing 80% of your value drain, right? So after this, the next comes, what kind of data, as you asked, what kind of data is important? And for that, I think I will answer from a point of a data science perspective. In the data science, we are taught for any data to be applicable for a specific solve a specific problem statement, you need to understand the volume, veracity, and velocity of that, right? So it's called 3 V's. So by veracity, what it means is, as I think like the panelists might not have used these words, but actually they have indirectly pointed to these 3 aspects actually. So veracity means what is the different types of data that you have. For example, if you have a machine, like you have a motor and a pump, simple motor and a pump, just taking an example, you have multiple. If you think of what are all the parameters that can be measured into this, you can measure pressure, temperature, flow rate, and you can measure vibration, acoustics, surface temperature. But if you notice, all these parameters can be classified into 2 categories. One is the process parameters or input parameters, and the second is system response parameters, how the system is responding to these process parameters. And those are parameters like vibration, acoustic, and all that. And for health monitoring, it becomes very important to focus on system response parameters. So that is why veracity or the different type of data is available, just because what SCADA and DCS gives is mostly the process parameters like pressure, temperature, and flow rate. For these ones, either the OEM will have their own sensor, or most of the time we have seen is you need to supply with additional sensors, right? And many plants might have their own vibration sensors already. Now comes the velocity, because you're talking about a real-time predictive maintenance on the job. You're empowering the machine to tell by itself what is its health. So for that, it may happen that somebody will tell you want data every second, or you're okay with data every 1 hour. So selecting this becomes really challenging, because you don't want to get into the phase of where data overhang. You have so much data that the failure is not happening at the same pace, and it becomes a lot of expensive affair to actually collect data. I have a customer in US who is paying $2 million per month just in cloud computing and data collection costs, and it is not even their equipments are not failing at the same rate. And finally it comes the volume of the data, right? How much data is really needed, and it totally depends on what is, again, like for anomaly detection, you may need a data every 1 minute or 2 minutes, the summary of the waveform data. But when it comes to something like fault determination, it can be done by getting a solid a waveform sample once every 4 hours only, right? So it totally, because what you're doing there is kind of a fingerprint matching, right? I mean, if you go to a biometric reader, all you need is just one fingerprint, and it will immediately tell that it is the fingerprint of a Manish, right? It does not need 100 or 1000 fingerprints, right? But let's say if a doctor wants to determine what is a problem, he will he wants to undergo multiple tests. So it's all depends on what's the kind of problem we're solving, and what's the analysis needed. So this is what I feel determines the data availability and applicability.
Applicability, yes. Sunil, yes, absolutely. You mentioned about identify the why, what, and how, and then the 3 V's. What you spoke about is the veracity and volume and velocity of the data. We have about 4 minutes of time left. So one quick comment in less than a minute from each of one of you is digital transformation or smart manufacturing, industry 4.0, digital factory is a journey. is not a destination. And there are various stages of adopting this and adapting it to your, customizing it to your own need. My question will start with Pankaj-ji is what are the real challenges in terms of achieving the ROI or scaling such projects to a larger level so that it can be replicated across the organization? So the challenges and the best ideas or practices for achieving higher ROI. Pankaj-ji. You're on mute. Yeah.
So these sort of challenges, the very first challenges comes to the IT. That IT is the right competencies requirement and the knowledge requirement of the particular technology. There are people who are very good in ERP, we are very good in BI, but they don't know the back-end process of the industry, what is going on, how these things are getting managed, and how the entire business is going on. So the business analytics person, they don't know the IT, they don't know the entire machine operations and the criticalities of those operations. So and always there are preference for the manufacturing industry. There is a preference for the manufacturing people, not the preference for the other people. When they come with the new project and these sort of things, they're asking for a huge manpower and all such things. To justify the costing of those manpower, to justify the investment of such things is the biggest challenge, number one. Number two, with connecting those things, there are a number of cyber threats and a number of cyber security, and data security is the biggest concern with the organization. So connect with like what happened in a normal industry, all this SCADA network and the other network is in two separate segmentation. So we never engage both the LAN into one part. Now, for many of the analysis, we need to have connection, and we are connecting. There are a number of things, but there is a possibility of business, this cyber threat and data threat. That is number two. Regarding ROI, yes, the length of the project and the benefit of the project. These are some benefits. They are basically not quantified. So to quantify such things, it's a very difficult task, and it's very difficult task for the IT fellows also, and the other fellows also. They are the chartered accountants and the cost accountants of the business. So they don't quantify such things on a very seamless manner. That is a very big challenge for getting the ROIs of these projects.
Okay, yeah. Sharad, from your viewpoint, the challenges scaling up, or the ideas for achieving higher ROI or faster adoption?
Yeah, Manish. Thanks. So I would say three. Definitely, there are multiple topics what we need to look into when it comes to implementation or rollout of the digital application. However, I will name the three challenges which in my observation, we see it frequently coming across from different industry, and also, not only chemical or BSF, also heard from the other side of this world. So one of the important aspect I will start with is making digital tangible. It's something which is important. So whether you call it ROI or you call it a business case or whatever it is, but digital solutions bringing it, and one of the important aspect we need to look into it. We should not do digitalization for sake of doing it, and making it tangible, beneficial to the plant, and that is something which is very important topic. So one of important aspect, and there are different levers. How can we make it possible? There are certain strategic initiatives in terms of utilizing common IT infrastructure for multiple projects, and there are ways and means to do it, but looking at time, I will not go in more detail of it, but that is one. Second, and one of important aspect is the people, which we call it as a change management. So bringing this change management is effective, and as Mr. Pankaj also mentioned, it's not only the skill set, the mindset and everything what we come into, and it has to be, while it comes as a change management, it is more to be a multidisciplinary approach. It's not the IT team or digitalization team what going to do, but it's a functional expertise team, the IT team which will work on this kind of digital project. And third, the end users. The end user we are going to use. Today we talk about people in the field supposed to use the tablets instead of the paper-based checklist, and then we really need to understand some of the operators using checklist And I have seen people with the 30, 25, 30-year experience in the field, and they are not that comfortable using the tablets. So this is something which is a change management, and we cannot bring the success of digitalization on the ground or in the plant until and unless we involve each and everyone in the chain, each and everyone starting from top management up to the ground level. And that is what we try to do it as a, kind of a different training modules for different set of people in the organization. Third important aspect, I move it to the technology. So today, when it comes to the technology, we all know when it comes to any industrial application, people are looking for proof of concept. They want to know that any application running in industry for how many years it is that we look for a proof of concept in the range of, the proven track record or proof of concept in the range of 10 years some system are running. But when it comes to digital applications, we know that IT is a very fast changing field. The IT instruments, equipments, what we use today, mobile devices, hardly work for a couple of years and you see the upgradation. So we have to cope up with this new evolving technology. You cannot stay away from new technology for want of POC or PTR. So what we need to do is we need to have a very agile process here, that while you work on the solution, you should be ready to adapt to the new technology coming in the market and modify, improvise your solution continuously. And these are three aspects. Definitely, Pankaj also brought in the points related to IP security and all. There are several such small, or I will not call small, but definitely there are several such issues. But I see top 3 points which I mentioned here.
Absolutely. Agility and adaptability to the changing technological landscape is so important to remain relevant. And Anilji, quick comment from you in a minute about the challenges and the way to overcome those for scaling up these DT, digital transformation projects.
Yeah, sure. So thanks once again, Sharadji and Pankaji, for bringing the insight, what we are going to finalize also.
Anilji, may I
So
request
one
you to
important thing,
adjust your
Manishi,
camera a bit slightly? Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah, please, go ahead.
So Manishi, the relevance of the digitalization which we talked in last couple of minutes, I heard Sharadji and Pankaj quite relevant, and I feel that the requirement would be that we are able to use the data in such a way that highlight the problem or identify the prioritization and then engage with the people to solve it, because this is very important, the way our data is coming and then prioritization and highlighting and then solving, because either another option could be that maybe after 10 years or 15 years everything is working on the artificial intelligence and automatically machines are behaving like human beings, and those integration which is going to be there. This patch of period, another 1 decade or 2 decade, the engagement of
there is a bandwidth issue, I think, at Anilji's end. Your voice is breaking. Anilji, your voice is breaking, so we couldn't hear the complete sentence.
And also, I just want to highlight that this data normally has to be looked on the 3 important things. One is that what is the principle? Principle, if I talk about the perspective, okay, maybe, okay. Just let me use the
headphone.
I think there is an issue with the network there.
Am I audible now? Hello.
The voice is
maybe
breaking.
am I audible, Manish? Now is it okay?
Yeah, it's okay. Maybe Ajit Singh, you can keep your camera off. Maybe bandwidth issue.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah,
thanks
quickly.
confirmations. The point which I was
I think there is a
Yes, the point which
network
I was
issue.
telling that the date, yeah, is still not audible, Manishji.
It is better now. So quickly, you can summarize in 30 seconds.
Okay. Sure. So this data has to be analyzed on the principles. For example, perspective view, the way we look from a height to understand the things in more details, and also it should be real time. So these two principles, I could feel that would be required for distillation, and also tools, the prioritization and the way we teach people. So these are two aspects for this. And last but not the steps. For example, identify where and what is required, and then finally correlate the results. I think if we follow these principles, tools, and steps, our gap in the current process could be eliminated and we can be better in the place. That's what
Okay.
a summary in time I would like to mention here. Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah. Thank you, Anilji. I would request Sunil to quickly tell us. We heard, of course, the challenges and the ways they are getting addressed from the industry. Why do digital transformation projects, Sunil, get stuck in the POC or the pilot purgatory phase, and how to scale it up from your viewpoint? If you can share quickly your views.
Sure, Manish. Thank you, everyone. And see, starts with the problem statement, right? Like every top entrepreneur who has scaled a business to $1 billion business, right? He will tell you the same thing. Identify a problem which is solvable with the technology that you have. Second is that once you solved it, it does not need huge amount of customization to solve that problem for every different case, right? And basically you can just even a single customer has a lot of potential of that problem, right? So that's what, like, so in terms of the plants, manufacturing plants, identify a problem that resonates with the maximum equipments, with the criticality rating of your equipments in a plant, and choose a technology that that has a good battery life and does not if you're using wireless sensors, and then it is providing enough data to give more than 95% confidence interval in fault detection, and remaining time to failure prediction. And then finally, that it should be easily, you base that you have enough number of equipments in your plant. So this is simple mantra for making sure scalability. And it all starts like how to avoid getting into pilot purgatory phase. Statistics, it simply, there is something called central limit theorem. What it says is, at least pick a good enough sample size to do the pilot, so that you can derive the results and for the population, right? Don't do it for just 2 or 3 equipments to see some data on the dashboard, because that's not the intent. The intent is to make sure identify the problem in a pump and predict when the failure is going to happen, right? And for this, it is important to cover at least choose a good size pilot, and make sure that you have that problem is big enough in your organization. And then once you have in this, if the success ratio is, let's say, as per you, is more than 80% or 90% or 70%, whatever it is, you're good enough to scale it up. So it all starts with how you choose the pilot. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Very well said, Sunil. While I thank all the panelists for their time, I would invite to summarize the proceedings of this roundtable Mr. Tanmay Matre, who is the lead business and strategy at Nanoprecise Sci Corp. Tanmay is a leading marketing and strategy at Nanoprecise, and he's the youngest member to be a part of the leadership team at Nanoprecise, which is a deep tech startup. Tanmay is a mechanical engineer by education and has been working in this niche area of AI-based predictive maintenance for the last several years. He is passionate about digital transformation and has been helping Fortune 500 companies and their CXOs adopt right technologies for growth. For the next 5 minutes, I would request Tanmay to summarize the proceedings and give his insights.
Yeah, so thank you, Manish, for this quick introduction. It was really interesting to get views of Susaraji, Anilji, Atulji, and Pankajji. Chemical industry itself, also is a notorious industry where we see failures at different spot. It has its own requirement, right? The sensors or the solution that we use, it needs to be zone approved. Then the end users have their own requirement of seeing the data at their software analytics and whatnot, right? So as everyone suggested, so I would quickly like to summarize common points. Is one is identifying the problem statement, identify the bad actor, which Saraji also mentioned. That's a very good start, where we identify the critical equipment which is a bad actor, and it is going to affect your entire production, right? Once we identify that, second is, okay, now we start collecting data. What about integration and not creating any silos of different projects, right? Because everyone might be doing what, 15 to 20 pilots or 30 pilots with different kind of vendors, but at the same time, for same pump, you are having two different systems for that particular end user, right? And it is going to really confuse him. So then how to avoid silos is then what Anilji had mentioned, integration. Integration is very important, where we bring people also with the same agenda, that okay, work orders, SAP, ERPs, etc., but also integrate with the factory automation solution, wherein entire thing is automated and now there is no silos. Third is human safety. That is also an important fact, because we adopt technologies to help human to be productive and at the same time also be safe, right? And increase their efficiency. So we are working with one of the largest cement manufacturer, and they have invested in predictive maintenance just for the human safety, because they don't want the users to go to the remote places every now and then, and there's a risk that that person would just fall off while climbing the like, for example, for chemical places, cooling towers or whatever, right? So human safety is third. Then comes the optimization, profitability, then using digital twin, energy optimization, etc. So these are the four main points, I think, is what is one covered. But we have somewhere missed one very important point, that is, are we providing end users what they need? And that is peace of mind, right? Because for last 20 years, 30 years of their experience, they are seeing one particular thing as their Bible that they are reading, and suddenly you change their belief that okay, this is the new technology that you have to pick up. Are they having the peace of will that technology provide peace of mind, or will it hamper their sleep, right? For quick example, one of the largest petrochemical giant, there were some RTD sensors in one of the largest compressor. The moment temperature goes up, all the entire reliability team's blood pressure also goes up, right? And they have been trying to develop AI-based algorithm just based on input parameter, and their data scientists, right, Tanmay, we don't know why the temperature is rising, and we need somebody needs to help out, right? They are just dependent on one side of the story. So entire piece is hampered. They have this technology, but it's the wrong technology, right? Again, you need to give them technology that is really going to help them scale. And that is where I would sum up the fifth point, that is peace of mind. Is that technology providing peace of mind to your end users? Because as a CXO, right, what you want is end user to ultimately use the technology. Then it makes sense to invest in that, and then the CFO will approve the fund, and then that adds to the PR and the shares value, etc., right? The entire digital transformation journey becomes fruitful. So I guess to sum up, fifth point would be the peace of mind. And yeah, that's it. And if you can let me share my screen, I can just show you one couple of slides to the panelists here, and that would sum up my summary. Hey Rupal, can you help me, allow me to share the screen?
Yeah, Tanmay, you can share now.
So quickly, just to mention, so as you can see, I remember 2019, I met Sarajji, and Saraj was like, if you're installing solutions in a factory like us, there will be a lot of variable parameters, like the process will be varying. For example, a pump is running at low RPM. You install a sensor, and again, my entire, like, that sensor would just send too many alarms because of process upsets. How are you going to tackle that? And I remember this statement, and once I joined Nanoprecise, I was like completely blown away with the technology that we have. So when we talk about the KPIs, yes, currently you can see we are covering all the major KPIs that are available in one sensor only. That's it. And it has all the zone certification which is required for the chemical factories, and it covers over 78% of the reliability component. Moving on to, if you say, the integration part, which Anilji mentioned, right? Having the people in it. You can see with open APIs, we can automate complete system with CMSS platform or ERP. The moment your bearing is going down, it will automatic work order will be raised and inventory will be arranged in your SAP platform with our notifications. And that is how you save the entire process optimization part. And you can also integrate with your vertical stack, like your Power BI, for example, just to have overall plant visibility with open APIs. That is how completely scalable our solution is. So considering this part, it's scale with is for the chemical factories. You have LoRaWAN, you have LTE, you have Wi-Fi, all connectivity options available. You don't require any wires, extra IT infra or edge box. It's just plug, play, and piece. And this is why we are scaling with a large organization, because end users just love it. Turn on the sensor, keep on the machine. That's it. That's so simple. And then value creation, because as you told, right, ROI mangta hai. Like we need ROI to justify the use case. 36% cost saving if you compare with your handheld analyzer that somebody mentioned in the past. Reduce safety exposure, full-time monitoring of your equipment. Your shop floor guys are happy, top floor guys are happy. Reduce risk of unplanned downtime and focus technical resources. Your mechanical electrical team will not fight if it's a mechanical fault or electrical fault. Data will show it's a mechanical team's job. Please go and fix it. So this is a kind of scalability and arrangement that we are bringing. Again, peace of mind. And this is the global client list that we are working today. We are working with chemicals, oil and gas, steel and cement. And we would also love to explore any possibilities of working with you guys sometime in future. And yeah, that's it. I will end my quick summaries here.
Thank you, Tanmay. You summarized it so well. I, on behalf of ProMFG and Nanoprecise, thank all the panelists, Atul, Sharad, Anil, and Pankaj, for joining this session, for sharing the insights. We look forward to being in touch with you to share these experiences with the manufacturing community. ProMFG Media is a platform, knowledge sharing platform to connect and collaborate and transform the manufacturing community. And I also thank Nanoprecise team for giving us this opportunity to partner with you, and look forward to our association in future.